Period 10 on a Tuesday afternoon. I went home last night after dinner, had my few beers, had a great night, and I realised that over the course of my 15 years in education, in agricultural education, PIEFA has been there all the time. You guys have been there all the time, and how proud and how great it was to be able to come back to Canberra after what's been an unparalleled number of years in education where you guys have been working in unprecedented conditions. Yeah, no worries. Ladies and gents, today I fulfilled a career goal, and the career goal that I fulfilled was not the fact that I'm incredibly honoured to be fulfilling and finalising this conference for PIEFA today, and I really appreciate the invitation from Luch and the board to have that conversation and be on the stage with these wonderful people, including my dear supervisor, Jim, who has been kind enough to take me under his wing and allow me to undertake a PhD in ag education, because I think we really need to invest in quality data and quality evidence to support what we do. My career goal was this. For 15 years, I've been coming to PIEFA conferences and I've been collecting these little things. On my desk at Gatton, which is one of the oldest ag institutions in Australia, there's a whole bunch of these. I've had dairy cattle, I've had pigs, I've had chickens, I've got eggs. And today, thank you, thoroughbred breeders, I've finally got my horse. Ladies and gents, I think one of the passionate things is in my role as a manager at the training organisation of UQ Skills, which is the RTO version of University of Queensland. We actually fall under the Faculty of Science. They were kind enough to support me to come down today and present some of my thoughts as a part of my PhD and my studies at Charles Sturt University. So I really wanted to just thank them for their support. But one of the things I think we tend to do is we look at the problems and we don't look at what we actually have. And we are so lucky, because I remember talking a few years ago to the audience at a PIEFA conference saying, I wouldn't want to be a maths teacher. All I've got is a textbook. That's it. And I have to make that entertaining. I have to make that invigorating. It's a really hard job. We're lucky enough that we actually have industry here supporting us and wanting to be engaged, wanting to produce, wanting to put budget into developing resources. And one of the things I think we need to really look at is the fact that we're not alone. Teachers in the room, just pop your hands up for me. We work in staff rooms, but this year, just out of interest, how many of you have actually made a phone call to local industry? About half. Industry. How many of you have tried to ring your local school to try and actually get into the school and talk about careers in your local community? How many emails do we get a day? Hundreds, don't we? Pick up the phone, make the phone call, but more importantly, we have networks like PIEFA that are there that have that gateway into schools. We are so fortunate that we have those networks where we can get into schools, talk to our kids and actually engage in their learning. And teachers want to work with you, and they are incredibly busy. I'm lucky enough, I've got out of education in terms of secondary education, I've gone into tertiary and vocational education. One thing that experience has given me is we actually really need to define who does what well. We've all had the call to arms, haven't we? We all recognise that agriculture has two key problems from this conference. And would you agree that one of them is we have a workforce issue? Pretty clearly, we have a workforce issue. So what are we going to do personally to fix that workforce issue, or at least contribute to it? The other issue is we have an image issue. Would we agree those are the two key themes that we've taken away from the conference? I argue that they're actually completely interlinked. We have an industry or a globe that is trying to double world food production by 2050. We've got the Ag 2030 goal of being a $100 billion industry by 2030. As we saw, an ever-increasing compliance requirement as industries out there where we need to be sustainable and accountable in a triple bottom line way. We've got one of the highest land uses of any industry. Water extractions are up there. But more importantly, our national employment is only 3%, and we account for a large number of workplace injury and death. And we produce 3% of the GDP. So our situation is that we've got an increasing rural and urban divide. This is nothing new, we've known this. And there was a theory out there that irrespective of industry, irrespective of person, there was 6 degrees of separation between any one person. Has anyone ever heard the methodology that they actually used to determine that 6 degrees of separation? They actually got some letters and they addressed a letter to, I think it was an accountant in New York, and they gave it to 150 random people around the world and said, okay, you need to send it to someone who you think might be able to get it closer to its destination. And that's how they figured out that stat. In reality now, we've got a similar degree of separation from people to agriculture. We've got little or less food awareness as a result of optional engagement in curriculum, but it has been massively improved through the work of peak industry bodies in getting the school curriculum on the map. And again, thanks to PIEFA's work, we've got some fantastic results in that space. But we do have an image problem. We don't attract youth to agriculture. Is it simply a marketing issue? Is it simply the 65-year-old bloke with the Akuba on? Or do we just need to more clearly articulate what agriculture looks like? So I actually went in, as I said, and put a question into ChatGPT the other night. Give me a lesson plan for talking about marketing to agricultural professionals and teachers. And it just exploded. It was interesting to see what came out of it, but I actually think I'm going to go on my own way, and I'd like you all to get your phones out now. I'm going to engage you. I'm going to go the opposite of what most teachers do on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm going to stop you buying that $4,500 Gucci handbag for your virtual avatar. I'm going to get you to Google, go onto Google Images, and I would like you to Google the word agriculture. I'll just give you a moment to do that. Okay, so what we're seeing is likely green, open spaces, lots of cropping, lots of farming, which is great, nothing wrong with farming, but it doesn't show the spread and the diversity of agriculture, does it? Now I'd like you to try something else before I go to the next slide. I want you to Google mining. And what you're likely seeing in mining is a whole bunch of black and white pictures with hard hats and dirty faces. Would everyone agree with that? No? What are you getting? Holes in the ground, right. Change that search to miner. Miner. Now we're getting it. That was only a very subtle change, yet we're using the power of Google to bring everything together. So how are we now let's do or actually type in Australian miner. Not the bird. Are you still getting that imagery of black and white coal all over the face? What are you getting? You get a whole lot of high-vis and workforce diversity, aren't you? And some birds. So I challenge you that while we don't need to go down the path of changing necessarily terminology to better identify our industries, we can refine what we actually label ourselves. So the term Australian farmer versus farmer on Google brought up these images for me. Very, very different. So all I'm trying to get out of that little exercise is to show you the subtlety of, if we realise what we are, if we're looking at what we are, that's not going to change. We need to become the image of what we want to be, what we need to be. Australian mining has done that, haven't they? They've got workforce diversity. They've got all the things that we really need within agriculture or want within our industry. So please have the power of actually changing agriculture's image in Australia by doing this one thing. What's the hashtag for PIEFA's conference this year? Is it PIEFA Conference 2023, I believe? I saw, yep. Okay. Your social media of choice. We're going to do a little exercise. I can't help it. I've been teaching for years. I'd get you guys to do something rather than sitting there listening to me drone on. Grab your favourite social media. Don't mind whether it's Facebook. Don't mind whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter. You can Twitter to your heart's content this afternoon, because I want you to use PIEFA Conference 2023. I believe it's already established, but I don't mind. Yeah, PIEFA Conference 2023 is the hashtag, so there you go. And the other hashtag I'd like to gift to everyone. Hashtag this is my ag. Hashtag this is my ag. Now, as of today, I would like you all to post a photo on your social media of choice going, hashtag this is my ag. You can pick any photo you like that you think showcases what your agriculture should be. Doesn't matter about your industry. I then want you to influence. We can't help but influence around us. For the teachers, I know we've got limitations around Facebook and everything in school, but we can still set this in as an activity. For those in industry, go back to your office, get them to post at least an image and pass it along. I want you to pass this along every single day. Go back to the office, go to your families tonight when you get home from the airport if you're flying back. Talk to someone at the airport. This is my ag, and get them to post a photo of what they think Australian agriculture is all about. Because I tell you what, we should be incredibly proud, shouldn't we, of what Australian agriculture is. And if we continue to work together in such an effective way like these conferences, I tell you what, the kids are really, really lucky to have you guys supporting them in their careers and their future. So well done. We can't focus on these workforce dynamics. Now, this is some great data. I'm from Queensland, so University of Queensland, and these guys we've obviously got some close ties with RGSA. So thanks, Rod, for your work with this. And this is out of the RGSA report. And it shows the thing I instantly went to. I'm a very visual person, as you can tell with Google Images. 73% of the outback workforce disappeared out of Queensland over the last couple of years. That's a scary number, isn't it? But in reality, there's a whole heap of influences that we've had. We've got workforce changes, for example, our Pacific Islander horticultural workforce deficit. We've got a shortage of backpacker labour due to COVID. We've got these external factors that are affecting our attractiveness as an industry. But probably the most important dynamic within the workforce over the last couple of years has been We have gone from a yeomanry workforce, low-skilled, large numbers. For example, Belmont Research Station, owned by the CSIRO, I was working on there 15 years ago. 10, 15 years ago, they had, I think it was 15 full-time workers and 150 contractors working a 3,500 hectare property. Now they've got one and a bit. That's a big change in industry, isn't it? And we want to get our kids back out onto the property. So this diamond-shaped future workforce composition is no longer the future. It's actually here right now. We need to be training our students to this. So, with only a couple of minutes left to go, or a couple of seconds, what I actually want to talk to you about is the value of paraprofessional training. Get the kids to do the Cert 2 in agriculture at school. But when it comes to Cert 3, Cert 4, Diploma, Ag, we've had that call to arms. Use the people who are in the positions to provide relevant training and value education. So I want to encourage you all as a workforce, with only 50% of the workforce in Australia in agriculture having post-secondary education, we need to value formal education in whatever form it might be, whether it be vocational education or whether it be tertiary education or whether it be on-farm training. But pick the right tool for the job. I encourage you as RDCs and industry peak bodies to actually support your industry flagship people to become trainers, come to organisations like mine as casual trainers and actually help deliver authentic and relevant training beyond the school gate and beyond the farm gate. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll stop it there. Thank you very much.